I read 90 books last year, and it's not near as impossible as it sounds because I'm gonna give you all of my secrets today, and I mean all of them. Welcome back to Books with Beck. I'm Beck. Let's talk books. I would definitely say that the number one question I get asked as a reader is, how do you read so fast? I also get asked, how do you read so many books in a year? How do you have time to read? How did you finish that book already? Oh my gosh, you already finished it. It came out yesterday. All of these types of things that my friends and family say to me because I genuinely think they assume I'm sitting in my bed every night like this. And it's just not the case. So I wanted to come on and give all of my secrets as to how I do read so many books, how I still have time to live my life, and what you can do to read faster. Now, let me give a disclaimer. I am not a fast reader. It seems like it to a lot of people who don't read regularly that 90 books in a year is crazy, okay? But genuinely, there are so many people out there that read 300-400 books a year, and I'm just simply not doing that. I don't have time for that. However, I think the main thing I can say before I give you any of these tips is I love to read. So I make it happen. If you don't love to read, it's going to seem impossible. If you've fallen out of love with reading, this will seem impossible. But I think it's the same way with people who are like, how do you have time to go to the gym? How do you have time to cook meals at home? You make it possible, if that makes sense. I also want to say it comes in waves. When I first started getting back into reading as an adult, sorry, I'm literally going insane because of these gnats. If you live in Georgia, you know, and you need one of these, okay? I'll link it. You need one of these. If there's carcasses in there, I'm so sorry. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Also, by no means do you need to read a ton of books. That's not what I'm saying. I think that a lot of people assume that reading is such a luxury of time, which in a way it is. However, it is accessible to everyone. That is why I wanted to make this video. I definitely thought I didn't have time for reading and that it was impossible for me to read anything because of what was going on in my life. And now I simply make it happen because I love reading so much. And I think that for me, a true hunger for stories is what keeps me reading. Yes, it's nice to be like, oh, I read 27 books this year. But in reality, I was excited to read 27 stories. I was able to dive into 27 books that have all of these amazing characters and use that as entertainment and as mental health and all of that. So I definitely encourage everyone to read, but do not put these crazy expectations on yourself that you need to read so many books. I do that sometimes as well, and it's just not good for you because then you start rushing through stories. And I never, ever, ever want to sacrifice the story itself for speed. So that's something you have to be a little bit wary of. But if you're using these tips correctly, you will definitely find that love for reading again. I think that it is important to kind of match your environment to what you're reading. So if I'm reading a romance, I may go hang out at a coffee shop or a park. If I'm reading a fantasy, those aren't going to really match as well. So I'll probably sit out at night and read it in the stars kind of thing. I know that sounds crazy, but it does help you just to enjoy your reading a little bit more, and it makes it a little bit more fun. That way you're immersed in it and you do read faster because you're really enjoying the content. Next on my list of hacks, I guess you could say, is audiobooks. If you think audiobooks are not reading, you're wrong. And I don't really want to discuss it with you. Audiobooks are reading. You're still consuming the same exact content, just in a different way. And there's a million different ways that we do this. We wouldn't tell someone that watching a movie with subtitles, you're not watching a movie. That's ridiculous. At the end of the day, audiobooks can also be an accommodation. My husband has dyslexia and audiobooks are his number one go-to. Now, me personally, I don't have dyslexia. However, processing information, especially when I'm reading really lofty stuff like deep literature, if I'm reading fantasy that has a lot of world building, I'm going to bring in an audiobook to kind of bring it all together, okay? Now, with that being said, audiobooks are expensive. It's the same price as a book, only once you're done with it, you have nothing to show for it, right? So it's kind of conflicting. You're like, I don't want to spend $17 on an audiobook. So don't. Go to your local library, get a library card, download Libby, input your library card information, and now you have access to all these audiobooks. Now, yes, there's a wait list, but I don't really care. I'll wait 3 weeks to not pay $18 for this book. If you have the opportunity and the capability of paying $18 for every audiobook you listen to, great, do that. Please support authors. Yes, please. I don't have that. I'm a teacher. I read a lot of books. So I'm using Libby as much as possible. Now, there are alternatives for audiobooks that I also really enjoy. For example, Spotify. I know I'm already going to pay for Spotify, so I just upped it a little bit to the next membership to where I get those 15 hours of audiobooks. Typically, this can get me like 1.5 to 2 audiobooks for the month read. And this has been really nice because not everything is available on Libby. I'll say that now. There's also Audible, the membership itself. My husband does pay for Audible and he really does enjoy it. It has every book that you could want. It's definitely the most reliable source. For me, it's just a bit of an expensive membership. Since I'm already paying for Spotify, I just don't double up. And that's basically as simple as it gets. With Audible, you pay a monthly price and you get 1 credit. And typically 1 credit is 1 book. So you get like 1 book a month to listen to on Audible. Now, when it comes to audiobooks, you do not need to sit and just listen to a book. I think people assume that they're not going to be able to take it in if they're not just diverting all of their attention onto that one thing. I absolutely love listening to audiobooks when I do the dishes, listening to audiobooks when I'm on the treadmill, listening to audiobooks when I'm cleaning the house, listening to audiobooks when I'm walking the dog or I'm at the dog park. Audiobooks are so amazing to just have playing. And if you ever are like, wait, what just happened? Just click back and go listen to it again. And you can change the speed on audiobooks so you can make it extremely slow or you can make it extremely fast, okay? It is up to you and how your brain works, and that's what I truly love about it. There are also some books that are truly just better on Audible and on audiobooks because of the casting. So, for example, my kids right now in class are reading Charlotte's Web. I downloaded the Charlotte's Web audiobook as a refresh because I've read it about 20 times. I don't need to sit and read it again. And it has a full cast, including Meryl Streep. So everyone gets their own characters and they do the noise effects. So it's really fun. And it is still giving me the same information in a much shorter time period. Now we're moving on to my Kindle hacks. So I don't have a ton of Kindle hacks. I think I'm a pretty typical reader on Kindle. However, there are definitely some things here that can help you out. If your problem is accessing books, they do have a Kindle Unlimited membership in which you can get so many books a month. It's like unlimited, literally. I think it's Kindle Unlimited. So you get an unlimited amount of books that are available on that site. So obviously a lot of trending books are not available on there. However, there's still amazing stories on there, and I think it's $12.99 a month. I personally don't pay for that because I'm a huge Libby user, so I just get my ebooks through Libby. All right, so when we're on Kindle and you're hoping to read a book and you want to read it quickly, my suggestion is to open the book. This book was awful, but we'll open it up for example purposes. So when you open up the book, you want to click up here, and you're gonna see all of these options. Now this font option, this is where the secrets lie, okay? So you can change where the layout is and all of that. You can also change the size, but I always like to go to this font section. Now every Kindle's a little bit different, but for the most part, this layout seems to be pretty standard. You can increase the size of your font. That way, if you have any vision issues, you can make it really big. If you hate turning the page, make it really small. Me personally, what's gonna help me be faster is this right here. I go in and I change the font to Open Dyslexic. Now, I'm not dyslexic. However, this helps all people to process information easier. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. Basically, it puts emphasis and bolding on certain letters and certain shapings around the letters to make it easier for your brain to process the information. So it's sort of similar to those Facebook tests that you see where the first 2 letters of the word are bold and you're able to read the whole thing even though everything's spelled incorrectly. It's the same concept. So it's making it easier for your brain to process, and this makes it so much faster for me to read books. Now, we'll go into a different book and I'll show you a typical font. Each time you open a book, you're gonna have to change the font back if you want it to switch. Now, typically, I don't leave it on Open Dyslexic. Again, I do this whenever I know a book is a little lofty or very long and I'm trying to make sure I get through it on time. Typically, I keep it on one of those regular fonts. Now, there are other things that you can do. I love to keep this reading progress task on. So you can have different settings. You have the page in the book, the time left in the chapter, the location in the book, the time left in book. I know for me, I like to see the time left in book. However, I have so many friends who love this time left in chapter aspect because their brain starts to see it as a race. So they're like, oh, 10 minutes left in chapter, I bet I can do it in 9. and it kind of encourages you to read faster. So just these silly little hacks that really go a long way with Kindle itself. If you don't have a Kindle though, I definitely encourage you to get one if you are someone who reads multiple books in a month. I want to say I got mine used for maybe $100, and then I just kind of got some cases and extra things. I hardly ever drop it because I have this pop socket on it. So that's also a little recommendation of mine. Now, when it comes to physical books, there's not that many hacks to read faster. However, as a teacher, whenever I have kids struggling with reading, a simple thing that I do is I'll have them take a bookmark and use it as a line guide. And I know that that seems crazy. Like, you're like, I'm a grown adult, I don't need a line guide. Get over yourself. You're not fun. Stop being cool. Like, it's fine. So I don't have one around me, but typically I would just have them grab a bookmark and they're just gonna keep the line. That way they're not getting stuck moving to different lines and getting distracted. And honestly, this hack works for adults. And if you think you're too good for it, tell that to my 9-year-old. Tell my 9-year-old student that you're too cool for that. Please come and tell them that to their face. Exactly. How ridiculous do you sound? This last hack is something that I get a lot of judgment for, if I'm honest. I am what people call an immersive reader, which means that I enjoy the audiobook and the physical book at the same exact time. So I will line them up and make sure that I'm on the same page that I am in the audiobook, and I'm listening to the audiobook at a faster speed as I'm reading. And so my eyes and my ears are processing the information at the same time. So if you are someone who is kind of a mixed learner, like you always loved hearing information, but you also love seeing information, the visual and auditory, this is amazing. It has changed my life as a reader. It makes it to where I enjoy my reading experiences more. I also get to kind of dive in deeper, especially if it's a graphic audiobook with character voices and with sounds, because I'm getting to enjoy that as I'm reading the book itself. It is not for everybody, okay? It drives my husband insane. He can't do it. He just gets frustrated with it. But it is up to you how you do it. You do not have to listen to your audiobooks on some crazy speed like I do. That's what works for me. I think all of these little hints and tips and tricks are up to you to use at your own discretion for what works for you. By no means am I saying go do this right now. But immersive reading is truly so fun, and it does help me to be a much faster reader. So I will give you guys an example of kind of like what that looks and sounds like as well. Okay, good morning. So I had to wait till my husband was home so that I could use his phone to show you guys the audiobook. So like I said, you're gonna pair up exactly where you are in the audiobook with where you are in the text, and you're just gonna read along with it. So because of that, I typically change my speed up to something crazy like 3 or 2.5, depending on the speed of the narrator themselves. I don't know, I guess this seems a little ridiculous, but it'll give you the concept.
Having married. Who needs love? Why do you always want more? I got the number. Again. Finally, she answers. On my way. Almost there.
See, so like, honestly, it seems fast, but it really, really does make sense when you're reading along with the text. And obviously when you're listening to an audiobook regularly, do not listen to it on 3 speed, unless the narrator is like creepy slow, because otherwise you're gonna miss a ton of information. But when doing this, I do not miss information at all. Speaking of, shout out to this book, Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, that's okay, cool. That wraps up my tips and tricks for reading faster. I do hope that this helps someone to get back into reading. I think that reading is something that every adult should be doing. So if you've kind of lost that love, hopefully these hacks make it a little bit more accessible for you and make it to where you do have time for it regardless of what's going on. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Let me know in the comments what you're reading now and what I should read next. I'll see you next time on Books with Beck. Love you, bye.